This is the Manhattans Project. I'm Michael Gibson, and I'm really hoping I don't embarrass myself too terribly. Welcome to 10th Magnitude's Manhattans Project. I'm Michael Gibson, Marketing Manager at 10th Magnitude, and I am joined today by Charles Schwenger, our Business Development Manager here.
Hey everyone.
Full disclosure, Charles and I actually have recorded a previous version of this exact conversation. Not word for word, obviously, but we got together and recorded it previously. And in my infinite wisdom, because I'm still figuring out how this whole process is going to work, I inadvertently connected my microphone into the headphone jack of my camera, so we got no audio of that. So Charles graciously accepted to sit down with me and drink some more really good Manhattans and just chat about what it is we do and what he's been working on and what's been on his mind. So thank you for coming back.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Sorry for potentially wasting your time, but you get some really good whiskey out of it. So
it was because we had a Manhattan beforehand.
We did.
Last time,
we did.
Whereas this is our first this time.
Yeah, we're not warming up before we shoot the video, so that should help a lot.
Definitely.
But it's still very tasty. So yeah, we're drinking Manhattans made with Koval whiskey, which is not a sponsor as of yet, but if at all possible, we're going to try to figure that one out. And Koval is very near and dear to me because they are also a business local here to the great city of Chicago. And that's a lot of what we do. I mean, we've been here for 5 years. We actually just recently had the company's 5th anniversary party. So you've been around for how long of that?
I've been around for about 2 years.
For 2 years, okay. So what is it, like, how have you seen the company change and develop over 2 years? Like, what is it that you've seen that's different now than it was when you first came on? Aside from sitting down and drinking during an interview on camera.
So drinking on camera or drinking during any activity has primarily been something that we've always done.
Okay.
Whether it be winning a client at 8 a.m., yes, we did that once, or just the general kind of everyone get in and celebrate our success. So when I first joined, this was 2 offices ago.
Okay.
And we were underneath the Loop L tracks, just off Lake Street, Lake and Jefferson.
I'm gonna pretend I know where that is because I'm from Chicago, but I actually have no idea.
Yeah, so just shying on West Loop.
Okay.
I think I remember walking in on my first day, and so my previous company was hedge funds, and so we had lots of fancy stuff around.
Sure.
I walked into the 10th Magnitude office and kind of, bit my tongue and said, "Uh-oh, this is where I'm working now." But since I joined that day, kind of 2 years ago, I've seen some substantial changes within the organization as a whole.
Okay.
So not to mention the fact that we've grown threefold by number of people and fourfold by revenue, but we've made 2 office moves in that time, right? And so that's been a fun process of within 2 years having 2 office moves. It's been interesting seeing kind of the structural change of how things go from, we're a bunch of people that kind of hang out and do cool stuff, to, all right, now we have to structure an organization and we need to put controls in place and we need to make sure that we're following specific procedures. And that's also changed the way that sales, the group that I'm part of, organizes within the organization, and kind of how we're incentivized and how we're maintaining our brand as kind of one of the leaders in the Azure.
At the risk of potentially opening a can of worms in terms of messaging, does that messaging change for organizations or individuals that are selling other cloud services solutions? So for instance, like AWS versus Google Cloud versus Microsoft Azure. Obviously, we're an Azure development firm.
Yep.
That's going to be our focus, and we will, over time, as this continues, probably discuss some of the advantages of that over other competitors. But you are not the person to have that conversation. I am not the person to have that conversation. That'll probably wait for an engineer or a developer, somebody who like really works with those utilities. But
So
how does that whole network sort of communicate and differentiate from each other?
There's some specifics, right? And there's some general high levels, right? So I can speak to the generalities of it and kind of my experiences so far. And developers and engineers will approach this in a totally different way. So typically, AWS is out there, big giant gorilla in the room, and they're really good at making cheap, aka low cost, VMs in the cloud.
Disclaimer.
Right?
Yeah.
Hyperscale VMs in the cloud, and that's it. And they're really good at that.
Yeah.
So they've also taken this approach to tackle the market in a lot of the greenfield spaces. So the startups, right, the innovators, and the ones that are building new applications to have some function, right? They're really good at that. Their marketing programs are geared towards that, and they can address it quite well. And then Microsoft, I see more as the kind of full platform play. So most shops that run Microsoft workloads should absolutely entertain Azure as a good platform. And I look at Azure as kind of three different tiers. One being that just general hyperscale VMs in the cloud, whether that be in an IaaS, infrastructure as a service component, or PaaS, platform as a service. So that's one tier, and that competes with AWS all day long. They've been in a price war over the past 2 years, and they're buying themselves down. Where I see Azure really differentiating itself is in its hybrid capabilities, in having to connect to other third parties, and having to kind of build domains across different applications, and really playing into the hybrid space. That's really where I see Azure shining. The final point on Azure where I see it being a big differentiator is in its platform capabilities. So not just infrastructure as a service, but what different services can plug and play with others in almost like a marketplace approach.
Sure.
To how you're doing your computing, right? And how you're managing your IT infrastructure. So, for most companies, 99 out of 100 companies, platform as a service is generally a good option because it can really helps with commoditization of all those resources and brings down that cost substantially and makes it so much easier to actually use. So you have to start looking at cloud computing as more of how do I manage my people and how do my people manage this product set versus, well, is my cloud cheaper in Amazon or Azure or Google?
All right. So I don't know if you keep track of some of the stuff I do on our social media. Like you've indicated to me that when I forward you something, you take a look at it. I don't know if you do otherwise. But I find it interesting that you were specifically talking about hybrid cloud because today on Twitter, and I have the privilege of being able to spend a majority of my time at work on social media. I guess that's the dream for a mid to late 20s marketer. I don't know.
Probably.
Probably. I think everyone just assumes we know everything that goes into it.
Only if they have wide-fare glasses and skinny jeans. So.
I'm not too.
Oh, sorry. Hipsters in general.
Okay, on anyone not as big as me, these would not be skinny jeans. These would be like a swimming pool. Oh, fat nerd, really? Wow.
Oh my god.
So anyway, on Twitter, we follow a number of people who do a lot of thought-provoking stuff on Twitter. One of the folks that I've really enjoyed reading, specifically about AWS and IBM, and the mergers and buyouts and conventions and stuff like that, is this person who goes by the handle @CloudOpinion, and I will actually put an image of this tweet up underneath, assuming I don't break my computer. And their post was proposal. And this was earlier today. Proposal: rename hybrid cloud to FrankenCloud. And there were a handful of responses. Distributed cloud. Somebody else where I feel like people will make fun of me before I get to adding this to a tweet deck, whatever. I responded. Insert pedantic comment. The infrastructure engineer is named FrankenCloud, not his creation. And then it continued a little further. So FrankenCloud's monster. what's your take on that? Like, there seems to be this sort of like dismissive opinion about hybrid cloud, and I halfway feed into that and I halfway don't, specifically in this situation. So you're talking a lot about clients who use hybrid cloud. How would you explain that opinion to them and what the potential pros and cons are? Like, this is a really niche example, but like it specifically stuck out in my mind because you said hybrid cloud, and we were just talking about this.
Sure. I think your point that you brought up, that the creator was named Frankenstein and not the monster, right? That's interesting.
Right, really pedantic guy who has a degree in writing. That's what I do.
I think that one, I would describe it as a pretty millennial term.
Okay.
As the kind of pre-millennial?
Pre-millennial?
Pre-millennial is Generation X or Y or?
I think
I learned it in some sociology class.
Baby boom, Generation X, and then like people who were born in like a specific year, like Generation Y, or they want to say they're different, and then it's millennials, and then I think
you'd anger some people by saying Frankencloud versus hybrid cloud.
Okay.
But primarily Frankencloud just being a more millennial term. I don't know how I feel about it. I would say that smashing a bunch of different pieces together and saying that this is now a thing and living and breathing is interesting, because the use cases of how you build kind of cloud computing is in that sense very similar, right? Because you take these different services over here and you wire them all up and make this thing. So I think it's quite dependent on the type of business that you're in, and by calling something Frankencloud is really interesting, because everyone's interpretation of what their monster looks like is going to be totally different.
Okay.
Which is just like how you build hybrid clouds, because there's no one size fits all. Right? There's high frequency trading firms that they have all their internal collaborative documents in the cloud, and then their main stuff, their primary transaction stuff is in an actual data center somewhere, or on-prem, or in a colo. So I think it'd be interesting to see the different types of Frankencloud monsters out there.
Okay. All right. So that's we're going to start using that. I'm going to start using that. We are a Frankencloud services firm, among other things. And yeah, I would love actually to, and when we throw this video up, I'm going to invite people to tell us what is your Frankencloud use case.
What is your Frankencloud?
Yeah, what is it? So we're going to wrap up our first round of Manhattans. We're going to top them off, and then we'll come back and find something else to yammer on about until I feel like I have enough footage to edit something coherent together. Sound good?
Until I find that I have enough Manhattans to make my way home.
I like it.